So here today we're going to look at factoring polynomials. Some of this you will remember from Algebra 1 and geometry. Arguably, this is one of the most important concepts you will come across. As long as you are in a math class, you will not get away from factoring. I don't care whether you're going to honors pre-cal, algebra 3, honors analysis, wherever you're going, you're going to factor, and you're going to factor until you're not in a math class any longer. So this is pretty important. Some parts of this are not so bad. Some parts are a little bit tough for people to get their mind around. So if you need to come back and watch parts of this, make sure that you do that, but you really do want to get this cemented in your head. You'll be really glad if you did later. You'll be really glad if you did. Okay, so the first kind of factoring we're going to look at, and we're going to look at total of maybe 4 types or so, is finding a common factor. Now, what finding a common factor means is that we're just looking to see if there's a number that goes into all of these terms. Now, it could be a number or it could be a variable. Here you'll see that 4 goes into itself, it goes into 4. 4 goes into 20. 4 also goes into 12. So I can pull out a 4. So I pulled out a 4 from there. 4 times 5 is 20, so it's like I'm dividing there. And here I've got a 3. Okay, now looking at this one, now let's not worry about the ends yet, but looking at the 9 and the 24, I can pull out a 3. Now looking at the ends, I could pull out 1 n. Now I can't pull out 2 because I only have 1 in this second term here. So I can pull out 1 n. Okay, so 3 times 3 is 9. I pulled out 1 n, so I've got 1 left. 3 times 8 is 24, and I pulled an n out, so I don't have it left. Okay, so this is finding a common factor. Sometimes it's called the greatest common factor, but you're looking for what you can pull out. Okay, second kind of factoring, and this is the kind that is the most common, and I'm hoping that on these first few here that we'll be okay with them, but this is the kind of factoring that I'm hoping was beaten into your head last year. We're going to focus here for just a couple of minutes. Now, when you're factoring trinomials, what you're looking to do is split it into 2 things that could be multiplied together. Now, it's a trinomial. Tri meaning 1, 2, 3 terms. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say x times x would give me x squared. And then I want to think of something that multiplies to 8 and adds up to 6. So 4 and 2, right? Adds up, multiplies to 8, adds up to 6. So there's my factoring. Now here's what I want you to notice. If I go through and I FOIL this together, see how I get that back? So I'm kind of doing the opposite of foiling here, sort of unfoiling the problem. I'm breaking it down into its parts. So factoring is the opposite of foiling or simplifying. Okay, so let's do the same thing here. So I need something that multiplies to 32 and adds up to 12. So I think 8 and 4 would work. Multiplies to 32, adds up to 12. And I need them to both be positive because I need both a positive 8 and a positive 32. Now, if you're not sure, you can always FOIL them together and see what you get. Okay, let's look at 2 more of these. Okay, so I need it to multiply to 8, so my choices are 1 and 8 or 4 and 2. and add up to a negative 6. Now here 4 plus 2 is 6. If I make them both negative, they'll add up to a negative 6, and that works because negative 4 times negative 2 is a positive 8. So be careful on those signs there. Okay, and last one before we get to the ones that people don't seem to like very much. So I need something, I'll let me put my X's in there. I need something that multiplies to 24 and adds up to negative 11. So I think I'm going to use 8 and 3, multiplies to 24, adds up to 11. I need them to both be negative to make it negative 11. Okay, now this is the kind of factoring that people don't like here. Now I want you to notice how this is different from the ones that we had a second ago. See how on each of these there's a number in front of the x squared, or in this case it's t squared, but there's a number in front of the variable squared? That's going to throw off the process from what we did a minute ago. These are going to be harder. I really want you to think of these as actually unfoiling the problem. Okay, so here's what I'm going to go through and do. I'm going to start with my first times first. To get 2x squared, I need to have a 2x and an x. 2x times x will give me 2x squared. Now I'm going to skip over to the last. I'll worry about the outside and inside in a minute. And I want to think about how I can get my 12 here. Now I'm going to write down my possibilities. To get 12, I can use 1 and 12. I can use 2 and 6. I can use 3 and 4. And that's it. So what I want to go through and do, and typically you'll do this in your head, you won't go through and write it out, but what I want to go through and do is I want to think about my outside and my inside and decide which one will get me 11. Now I can't just add them together because that 2 is going to affect that outside one when you FOIL. So you've got to think outside and inside to get this 11. Okay, so I'm just going to try some different ones. We'll just go in order. So I'm going to try the 1 and the 12. So 2 times 12 is 24, and 1 times x is 1x. Can I get 11 out of that? No, I can't. So I'm going to try to switch them. See if that helps. So 2 times 1 is 2. 12 times x is 12x. Same thing, I can't get 11 out of that. If I add them, I get 14. If I subtract them, I get 10. So I'm going to keep going. Now, when you do this on your own, you're just going to do this in your head. You're not going to write all of this stuff down, so it goes pretty fast. So I'm going to go through and try 4 and 3. I'm just going to put them there. So 6 and 4. Now I can get 10 out of that, or I can get 2 if I subtract, so that doesn't work. But let's try switching them. See if that does better. I probably should mark that one out. Okay, so here I have 8x. Here I have 3x. This is looking good because if I add those together, I'll get 11x. So this is good factoring. Now let me say this again. If you're not sure, then go through and check it. There's no harm in checking it. So if you need to check it, FOIL them together. Make sure you get the same thing that you started with. Okay, so let's look at a couple more. Alright, so 2x times x will give me 2x squared. Now 6, I don't have very many options. Basically 1 and 6 are 2 and 3. Now I didn't mention this on the first one, but for me, I always try to start with the ones that are closest to each other. I don't know why, but I feel like that works a lot. So I'm going to try the 2 and the 3. We'll see if it works. So I think if I group the 2 with the other 2, that'll give me 4. Plus 3 is 7. Okay, so let me check that. So 4 and 3. I just put the wrong number there. I should go 3 instead of 4. If I add those together, I'll get 7. Now I want a negative 7, so I'm going to make them both negative. Now again, if you need to check it, check it. Now these problems right here are the ones that people have a hard time understanding. So don't just listen to this and say, well, I don't understand it. You really got to study them. You need to rewind it and watch this problem again. Do that. But this is the time you want to get these in your head. You'll be really glad if you do. Okay, let's do 2 more of these, and then that's where we're going to stop for the moment. Okay, so to get 3x squared, I'll use 3x and x. Now 36, I've got quite a few different options. I probably have more than this, but I'm just writing down the ones that I'm thinking of. I know there's a 2 and 18. There may be some others, but I'm just going to try some. Now, I like to try the ones closest together first, and then kind of work my way from there. So I'm going to try the 6's. So that would be 18 and 6. Can't get a 31 out of that. If I switch the 6's, since they're the same number, it's not going to matter. So the 6's I think are pretty much out. Okay, I'm going to try the 4 and the 9. Okay, so 18 and 4. That's not 18. I'm making a lot of mistakes today. Okay, so 27. It would be good if I multiplied correctly. And 4. Now, if I add those, I'll get 31. So I'm thinking that's a good answer. And I want both plus signs. Okay, now again, if you're not confident in your answer, FOIL it out. Make sure you get this answer or what you started with back. You can check these if you're not sure. However, this is something you want to get efficient with. Okay, so let's try this last one. Alright, so 5t and t will get me 5t squared. Now, thinking through this, 32, I know one of the numbers that multiplies to 32 is 4 and 8. If I put the 5 with the 4, that would give me 20, plus 8 more is 28. I think that's a good one. Again, if you're not sure, FOIL it together. Okay, so this is 5.4a. I'm going to put them in 2 podcasts, 5.4a and 5.4b, because they are a little bit lengthy. However, the homework is grouped together.